Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed how a simple number can change your life? A phone number connects you to the world. A date of birth carries your story. A PIN code protects your money. But what if I told you changing just 4 numbers in your mental PIN could unlock a different kind of wealth? Not just the money in your account, but the wealth in your mindset, the wealth in your daily actions, the wealth that grows while you sleep by morning. So what are these numbers? Before I reveal them, let me ask you, how many times have you felt stuck? You work hard, you try, yet money feels like sand slipping through your fingers. It's not your fault. You've been entering the wrong PIN. Your mind has been locked. And tonight, we're going to reset it. The first number is 1. Why? Because wealth starts with one clear focus. If your energy is scattered, your results are scattered. Think of sunlight. Gentle rays warm your skin. But the same rays, focused through a magnifying glass, can set paper on fire. Your mind works the same way. One focus, one direction. That's the first digit in your new PIN. The second number is 2. 2 steps. Again and again. Wealth doesn't come in giant leaps. It comes in small steps repeated. Like brushing your teeth daily keeps them clean, small daily financial habits keep your life wealthy. Saving a little, learning a little, growing a little. Consistency beats talent every single time. The third number is 3. 3 letters. You. Belief in yourself is non-negotiable. Tell me, would you deposit money into a bank you didn't trust? Of course not. So why would life deposit wealth into a person who doesn't believe they deserve it? Belief attracts opportunity. Doubt repels it. Lock this number deep in your mind. The last number is 4. For letters, give. Gratitude is the soil where money grows. Have you seen a farmer complain about planting? No. He waters. He waits. He trusts the harvest. Your gratitude is water for the seeds of wealth in your life. The more you thank, the more you bank. So what's your new PIN? 1. Focus. 2. Consistency. 3. Belief. 4. Gratitude. Enter it into your mind every day. Unlock it every morning. And you'll discover that money grows overnight. Because wealth isn't outside of you. It's coded inside of you. Here is some key points related to this. Wealth starts with focus, one clear direction. Consistency in small daily actions builds momentum. Strong belief in yourself attracts opportunities. Gratitude multiplies what you already have. Your mental PIN controls your financial reality. Change your inner code, and you'll change your outer results. Imagine for a moment you are standing in a field on a bright summer morning. The sun is shining above you, warm and generous, pouring down its golden light on everything it touches. You feel its heat on your skin, but it's gentle, almost comforting, like a friend laying a soft hand on your shoulder. The same sun that touches your face is also touching the trees, the mountains, the rivers, the rooftops of busy cities. It covers everything, yet it does not set the world on fire. Why? Because its energy is scattered, spread across millions of places at once. But take that same sunlight and pass it through a magnifying glass, focusing on one small point, and you'll see something remarkable. The dry leaf beneath the glass begins to smoke, then burn, and suddenly there is fire. That is the power of focus. The same energy, the same sun, but directed in one clear direction, it transforms into something unstoppable. That's how your life works too. People often tell themselves they are working hard, that they're doing everything they can to succeed, but the truth is their energy is scattered across too many directions. They're like the sun, shining everywhere but igniting nothing. One day they're chasing a new business idea. The next day they're scrolling through social media. The next day they're making plans they never take action on. Their focus is divided into tiny fragments, and because of that, their results are weak, watered down, and unsatisfying. You may even know that feeling yourself. It's like running on a treadmill. Your legs are moving, your heart is racing, but you're not moving forward. The exhaustion is real, but the progress is invisible. When you choose one focus, when you decide with absolute clarity what you want, your entire life begins to rearrange itself in the direction of that choice. Think about a ship sailing the ocean. Without a compass, It drifts aimlessly, tossed by every wave and pushed by every wind. But give it a clear destination, align it with the North Star, and no matter how rough the waters get, it finds its way. Focus is your compass. It doesn't remove the storms, but ensures you don't drift forever. History is full of examples of ordinary people who became extraordinary simply because they chose one focus. Thomas Edison was not the most gifted student. His teachers once told his mother he was too stupid to learn anything. But Edison decided he would focus on creating inventions that serve humanity. He failed thousands of times while trying to invent the light bulb, but because his focus was unwavering, he eventually succeeded and changed the world. Imagine if he had scattered his energy, giving up after the 10th or 100th failure, or deciding midway to become a farmer or a writer instead. He would have been just another forgotten name in history, another man who tried a little of everything but mastered nothing. But because he chose one focus, his name is remembered generations later every time you switch on a light. Closer to our daily lives, think of athletes. A world-class sprinter like Usain Bolt doesn't train to be good at basketball, tennis, and swimming at the same time. He narrows down to one race, one distance, one discipline. His whole life bends around that single focus, the 100 meters. And because he channels all his energy into that one point, he becomes the fastest man alive. Imagine if Bolt had tried to be decent at 10 different sports instead of excellent at one. He might have been good, maybe even above average, but never extraordinary. Focus is the difference between good and legendary. It's the same for you and me. Sometimes the greatest obstacle to our success is not lack of talent, not lack of opportunity, but lack of focus. We dilute ourselves in too many directions. We wake up with 50 small goals instead of one burning vision. We allow distractions to eat up our time, and we call it multitasking. But multitasking is a myth. It doesn't make you productive, it makes you divided. And a divided mind is a weak mind. The human brain was not designed to chase everything at once. It was designed to lock onto a target and move toward it with persistence. Steve Jobs once said, "Focus is about saying no." He wasn't just talking about discipline. He was talking about power. Every yes you give to something that doesn't matter is a no to the thing that does. If you want to build wealth, if you want to change your life, you must learn to say no to the noise, the distractions, the endless scrolling, the conversations that go nowhere, the projects that don't align with your vision. You have to guard your focus as fiercely as you would guard your last drop of water in a desert, because where focus goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, results grow. Picture two rivers. One is wide, shallow, and scattered, its water spreading out into marshes, evaporating before it ever reaches the sea. The other is narrow and deep, its current fierce, cutting through stone, unstoppable until it empties into the ocean. Which river would you rather be? Most of us live like the shallow one, spread too thin, easily evaporated. But the secret to true success is to become like the deep river, directed, powerful, and unrelenting. Even in personal life, focus changes everything. Think of relationships. A person who half listens to their partner, distracted by a phone, is not building intimacy. But the person who gives full focus, eyes, ears, heart, creates connection, trust, and love. Money works the same way. If you treat it with half attention, if you let it slip in and out without focus, it will never stay. But if you direct your mind to focus on creating, keeping, and growing it, opportunities begin to appear that you never noticed before. Focus is magnetic. It attracts the right people, the right chances, the right timing. Have you ever noticed that when you buy a new car, you suddenly start seeing that same car everywhere? It's not that the cars appeared overnight. It's that your focus shifted, and your brain started noticing what it used to ignore. The same happens when you focus on wealth, growth, and opportunity. Your brain begins to see doors that were always there, but invisible to your scattered attention. So ask yourself, what is my one focus? If you can't answer that in a single sentence, your energy is leaking, and every leak delays your dream. Choose it, write it, live it. Say no to everything that doesn't serve it. And once you lock on, don't let go. Because just like the sun through a magnifying glass can ignite fire, your life, when directed at one focus, can ignite success that feels impossible to stop. Consistency is one of those quiet forces in life that most people underestimate. We imagine success as a sudden breakthrough, a dramatic moment where everything changes overnight. But the truth is far less glamorous and far more reliable. Success is usually born in the tiny, repeated actions that nobody notices. It is hidden in the boring routines, the disciplined choices, the promises kept to yourself even when no one is watching. Think of a sculptor standing in front of a block of marble. The first strike of his hammer does not reveal a masterpiece. The second strike doesn't either. In fact, the first 100 blows look like nothing more than scratches and dust. But the sculptor continues, strike after strike, chip after chip, and slowly shape begins to emerge. By the 1,000th strike, others start to see what he saw all along. And by the final strike, the world gasps at the beauty that was hidden inside that stone. But here's the truth. The masterpiece was not created by the final blow. It was created by every consistent strike before it. Life works in the same way. We often look at successful people and assume they were made in one moment, a single lucky event, a sudden windfall. But if you study their lives, you'll find a trail of daily consistency leading to that so-called breakthrough. Think about learning a language. You don't wake up fluent after one lesson. You repeat words again and again, sometimes stumbling, sometimes forgetting, sometimes feeling foolish. But each repetition plants a seed, and over time, without even realizing it, you begin to understand, to speak, to think in that new language. Consistency turns impossible into the natural. There's a story of a bamboo tree that perfectly illustrates this truth. When you plant the seed of a bamboo tree, for the first year you see nothing. You water it daily, care for the soil, give it sunshine, but nothing breaks through the surface. The second year passes, still nothing. The third year, again silence, just empty soil. Many people would give up by then, convinced it was pointless. But those who understand consistency keep watering. In the fifth year, something miraculous happens. The bamboo suddenly shoots up not a few inches, but up to 80 feet tall in a matter of weeks. Now here's the question. Did the bamboo grow in those few weeks, or did it grow during the 5 years of unseen patience and consistency? The truth is, it was always growing, but underground, building roots, creating a foundation strong enough to support the rapid growth when the time was right. That is what consistency does for your life. You may not see results immediately, but every day you show up, every day you practice, every day you keep going, you are strengthening roots that one day will support incredible growth. This principle applies to money as well. Many people dream of financial freedom, but they treat it like a lottery ticket. They wait for the big break, the one-time miracle, instead of committing to consistent habits. Imagine someone who decides to save just $5 a day. It feels so small, almost meaningless. But in 1 month, that's $150. In a year, that's $1,800. In 10 years, with a little growth, it becomes tens of thousands. That's the power of consistency. Small, repeated actions that look ordinary in the moment but extraordinary in the long run. Contrast that with someone who waits for the perfect opportunity and spends every dollar today. 10 years later, one person has wealth that grew quietly, and the other is still waiting for luck. Consistency is also the secret behind mastery. Bruce Lee once said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Why? Because repetition turns action into instinct. It burns skill into your muscles and your mind until it becomes effortless. That's what consistency does. It takes you from clumsy beginnings to effortless excellence. Imagine a pianist playing a beautiful piece of music. To the audience, it looks like magic, like their fingers were born to dance across the keys. But behind that performance are years of scales, hours of repetition, the same notes played over and over until they became second nature. The beauty you see is the result of invisible consistency. We live in a world obsessed with speed. Everyone wants instant results, instant wealth, instant recognition. But life rewards consistency, not impatience. Think of fitness. You don't lose weight by going to gym once and running on the treadmill for 4 hours. You lose weight by going regularly, maybe 30 minutes a day, for months. One extreme effort is not as powerful as many small efforts compounded over time. Consistency beats intensity every single time. There's another layer to this. Consistency isn't only about action, it's also about identity. Every time you do something consistently, you reinforce who you are. If you write a single page every day, you are a writer. If you save a little money every day, you are an investor. If you practice kindness daily, you are compassionate. The act itself may look small, but the identity it shapes is powerful. And once an identity is formed, actions follow naturally. A person who sees themselves as a runner doesn't need motivation to run. They simply run because it's who they are. Consistency shapes identity, and identity sustains action. The danger of inconsistency is subtle but real. When you break your word to yourself once, it's easy to do it again. Skipping one day doesn't seem like much, but it sets a pattern. Soon, what was meant to be a habit turns into a memory. On the other hand, when you stay consistent, even in small things, you build trust with yourself. And self-trust is one of the most valuable currencies you can ever own. When you trust yourself to keep showing up, you gain confidence that no external validation can shake. Picture a stonecutter hammering away at a rock. He hits it once, nothing happens. He hits it 100 times, still nothing. Then, on the 101st strike, the stone splits. To the world, it looks like that one blow made the difference. But the stonecutter knows the truth. It was not the final strike. It was 100 before it that made the crack inevitable. That's consistency. It builds pressure. It builds momentum. It builds results that finally reveal themselves in a moment others call luck. But you and I know it was never luck. It was consistency made visible. So when you feel impatient, when you feel like your actions aren't producing results, remember the bamboo. Remember the stonecutter. Remember the sculptor. Remember that your job is not to demand instant harvest, but to keep planting, keep watering, keep chiseling, keep striking. Because while it may not look like much today, one day you will wake up and realize that the roots you built, the habits you formed, the effort you repeated, has grown into something so powerful. It looks like it happened overnight, but it didn't. It happened because of consistency. Belief is a quiet engine behind everything we do, and yet it is so often underestimated. It is invisible, untouchable, and yet it determines whether we rise or fall. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff with a rope bridge stretched out in front of you. The bridge looks shaky, the rope's frayed, the wood weathered. Would you cross it? Most people would hesitate, not because their legs are weak, but because their belief in the bridge is weak. Now imagine that same bridge reinforced, solid, tested by others who have walked it safely. Suddenly, your confidence grows, your steps feel lighter, and crossing becomes possible. Nothing about your physical ability changed, but your belief changed everything. That is how life works. You don't fail because you are incapable. You fail because you don't believe you can succeed. From the time we are children, belief begins to shape us. A child who is told, "You are smart, you can do this," will approach challenges with courage, even if they stumble. A child who is told, "You are not good enough, don't try," begins to live inside an invisible cage built from those words. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." And the older I get, the more I realize how true that is. Your belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're capable, you'll try harder, you'll persist longer, you'll see opportunities where others see dead ends. If you believe you can't, you'll stop before you even begin, and your lack of action will prove your belief right. Consider the story of Roger Bannister. For decades, people believed it was impossible for a human being to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Doctors, coaches, even scientists declared that the human body simply couldn't handle it, that the heart and lungs would fail under the strain. Runners came close, but never broke the barrier, because belief itself was a barrier. Then in 1954, Roger Bannister, a medical student, decided to challenge that limit. On a windy day in Oxford, he ran the mile in 3 minutes, 59 seconds. He shattered what the world thought was impossible. But here's the astonishing part. Once he did it, once the belief was broken, within the next few years, dozens of other runners also broke the 4-minute mile. What changed? Did humanity suddenly evolve stronger lungs and faster legs? No. What changed was belief. One man's courage to believe opened the door for everyone else. This happens in everyday life too. Think of the person who grows up in a family where no one ever finished school, where money was always scarce, where dreams were dismissed as foolishness. That person has to fight against the weight of inherited disbelief. But if they choose to believe in themselves, even against the voices of doubt, they rewrite not only their own story, but the story of generations after them. Belief is contagious. It spreads to your children, your friends, your community. Your belief in what's possible gives others permission to believe too. Belief also determines how you handle failure. Someone without belief sees failure as proof they were never good enough. Someone with belief sees failure as a stepping stone, a lesson, a redirection. Thomas Edison famously said, after thousands of failed attempts to create the light bulb, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That statement reveals more than optimism. It reveals belief. Belief that the solution existed, that he was capable of finding it. That failure was temporary. Without that belief, he would have quit long before he lit up the world. The absence of belief can be deadly to potential. How many people have dreams locked inside them simply because they convinced themselves it wasn't possible? How many books unwritten, businesses unstarted, inventions uncreated? Because someone believed the voice in their head that whispered, "Who are you to think you can do this?" That voice of doubt is like a thief that robs silently, stealing futures before they are even born. And yet, the opposite is also true. When belief is strong, it becomes armor against fear. It doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you doubt less than you trust. I remember hearing about a young woman who grew up in poverty, raised by a single mother, often going hungry, wearing hand-me-down clothes. She had every reason to believe she would never escape the cycle, but she believed in education as her path out. She studied under candlelight, worked part-time jobs, applied for scholarships, and eventually earned a place in a prestigious university. That belief carried her into a career that not only lifted her out of poverty, but allowed her to help others do the same. She wasn't the most privileged, the most connected, or even the most talented in her class, but her belief became the bridge that carried her from where she was to where she wanted to be. Belief is not just mental. It shows up physically, too. Athletes visualize their victories before they step into the arena. A boxer imagines raising his gloves in triumph. A swimmer pictures touching the wall first. That belief primes the body, conditions the muscles, sharpens the focus. Psychologists call it the placebo effect, when belief in a sugar pill produces real healing in the body. But if belief can heal illness, what else can it do when applied to your goals, your finances, your dreams? Belief isn't wishful thinking. It's fuel. It feeds persistence. It strengthens resilience. It pushes you past the point where others quit. Still, belief requires nurturing. It's like a fire. It can burn brightly, but it can also die out if you don't protect it. Surround yourself with people who fan your flame, not those who pour water on it. Fill your mind with stories, books, and voices that remind you of what's possible. Guard your inner dialogue, because the words you say to yourself become the reality you live. If you constantly repeat, "I can't, I'm not ready, it's too hard," your belief shrinks. But if you speak, "I will find a way, I am learning, I am growing," your belief expands. There will always be evidence for and against your dreams. You will always find reasons it might not work, just as you will always find reasons it could. Belief is a decision to hold on to the possibility that it will, even when the odds are stacked against you. And here's the truth. Life bends more often to those who believe than to those who doubt. Opportunity knocks louder at the door of those who are ready to answer with faith instead of fear. So when you think of wealth, of success, of changing your life, understand that the first deposit you must make is not in the bank, but in yourself. You must believe that you are worthy, that you are capable, that you are chosen for more than the life you have settled for. Because just as no one would invest in a bank they don't trust, life will not invest in a person who doesn't trust themselves. And the moment you start to believe, not just lightly but deeply with every fiber of your being, you will notice doors open where walls once stood, paths appear where ground once seemed solid, and chances multiply where before there was only silence. Gratitude is one of the simplest things to feel, yet one of the most powerful forces to live by. It has a strange ability to transform ordinary moments into blessings and small beginnings into great abundance. Imagine a farmer standing in his field, seeds scattered across the soil. He cannot see the harvest yet, but he is grateful for the rain, grateful for the sun, grateful for the very act of planting. He doesn't dig up the seeds every morning to check if they're growing, nor does he curse the earth because it hasn't yet given fruit. He waters, he waits, he trusts. That is gratitude in action. It is faith in motion. It is saying, even before the harvest arrives, I will give thanks. And in that spirit of thankfulness, something miraculous begins to happen. Not only do the crops eventually rise from the ground, but his heart remains peaceful during the waiting. Gratitude doesn't just change outcomes. It changes the person waiting for them. Think of the opposite for a moment. A person without gratitude is like someone staring at an empty glass, always complaining that it's not full, ignoring the fact that it isn't completely empty either. They overlook the sip they do have while obsessing over the part that's missing. Life becomes an endless chase, an unquenchable thirst, because no matter how much arrives, it never feels like enough. They win money, and instead of enjoying it, they fear losing it. They achieve a goal, and instead of celebrating, they're already anxious about the next one. Without gratitude, even abundance feels like poverty. But with gratitude, even poverty feels like abundance. There's a story about two travelers walking through a desert. One complains endlessly about the scorching sun, the dry sand, the long road. The other looks at the same sun and thanks it for keeping them warm at night. He looks at the sand and thanks it for carrying their footprints forward. He looks at the long road and thanks it for leading somewhere new. Both men walk the same desert, but they live two different lives. Gratitude doesn't change the circumstances. It changes the way you see them. And when your eyes change, your actions follow. In money, gratitude is the soil where wealth grows. People often say, I'll be grateful when I have more, not realizing that the more never comes without gratitude for the little. It's like trying to grow a tree while despising the seed. You cannot hate the seed and expect to love the fruit. Gratitude is the force that multiplies what you have. When you give thanks for a single coin, you treat it with respect. You use it wisely, you invest it carefully, and that coin eventually brings friends. When you ignore it, waste it, complain that it's too small, you shut the door to increase. Life doesn't reward ingratitude. It rewards those who honor the small beginnings. There's something magical about starting your day with gratitude. The world might look the same outside your window, but inside, everything shifts. Instead of waking up grumbling about the alarm clock, imagine waking up whispering, Thank you. Thank you for the breath in my lungs. Thank you for the roof over my head. Thank you for the chance to try again today. That small shift sets the tone for the entire day. Psychologists have found that people who practice gratitude regularly are happier, healthier, and even sleep better. Why? Because gratitude turns your focus away from what is missing and anchors it to what is present. It removes the restless hunger for more and replaces it with appreciation for now. And strangely enough, when you live this way, more seems to arrive naturally. Think about relationships. A person who constantly points out flaws in their partner creates distance, while the one who consistently shows gratitude. Thank you for cooking this meal. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being here. Creates connection and love. Gratitude multiplies affection the same way it multiplies wealth. It is a magnet for good things. And when applied to money, it becomes a magnet for opportunities. Employers, clients, even strangers are drawn to someone who radiates appreciation. No one wants to work with or reward someone who constantly complains. But everyone wants to invest in and uplift a person who is grateful, because gratitude carries the energy of abundance, not lack. Gratitude also has a strange way of turning pain into power. Imagine someone who lost their job. They could sit in bitterness, angry at the unfairness, or they could say, Thank you for the chance to rest, to reset, to look for a path that fits me better. That gratitude doesn't erase the challenge, but it changes how they walk through it. Suddenly, instead of being crushed by the setback, they are strengthened by it. Gratitude turns wounds into wisdom, obstacles into stepping stones, and endings into beginnings. Even in the most difficult situations, gratitude creates light. Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote that everything can be taken from a person except one thing: the freedom to choose their attitude in any given circumstance. He found gratitude even in survival itself, in the breath of another day, in the chance to still be alive. If gratitude could exist in the darkest of camps, it can certainly exist in our daily struggles. And if gratitude could give strength to survive something as horrific as that, imagine what it can do for us when we face financial stress, business failures, or personal losses. One of the most beautiful things about gratitude is that it doesn't cost anything. You don't need wealth, status, or success to feel it. You can be grateful right now with what you already have, even if it seems small. And in choosing gratitude, you plant seeds for more. Oprah Winfrey once said, "The more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate." That is not just a motivational quote. It's a spiritual law. Gratitude multiplies whatever it touches. So think of gratitude as a key you carry in your pocket. Every time you use it, you unlock doors that were invisible before. You may not see immediate wealth, but you'll notice opportunities, connections, and ideas flowing your way. Gratitude shifts your energy, and your energy shapes your reality. People will feel in your words, in your actions, in your very presence. And slowly, without even forcing it, your life begins to grow. When you hold a glass of water and see it as half full instead of half empty, you are practicing gratitude. When you look at your paycheck and, instead of cursing it for being small, thank it for covering what it does, you are practicing gratitude. When you see a friend, a stranger, a sunrise, and smile with appreciation, you are practicing gratitude. And each of these small moments is like pouring water on the seeds of your future wealth. Gratitude is not a transaction. It's not about giving thanks just to get more. It's about aligning your heart with abundance, so that when more comes, you are ready to handle it, to respect it, to use it wisely. Because wealth without gratitude is like water poured into a cracked cup. It will never stay. But wealth with gratitude is like water poured into fertile ground. It seeps deep, nourishes, and grows into something lasting. And perhaps the most powerful part of gratitude is that it makes you realize you are already rich. Rich in breath, in time, in chances, in love, in lessons. When you live from that richness, money becomes not a desperate need, but a natural extension of the abundance you already feel inside. That is why gratitude is the fourth number in the code, the final digit that completes the pin, the one that ensures that what you unlock doesn't just arrive but stays and multiplies. There comes a moment in every journey where you realize that all the knowledge, all the planning, and even all the gratitude in the world will remain just potential unless you take action. Action is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the idea and its reality, between the dream and its manifestation. You can stand at the edge of a river, knowing that the other side is beautiful and full of promise. But if you never step forward, if you never dip your foot into the water, you remain where you are. Action is that step. It is imperfect, often messy, sometimes clumsy, but it is the only way forward. A painter can imagine a masterpiece for years, but until the brush touches the canvas, nothing exists. An author can carry the greatest story in their heart, but until pen meets paper, it remains a shadow. Action gives form to the unseen, and it is often in the very act of doing that clarity arrives. So many people wait for perfect conditions, convincing themselves that they will act when the timing is right, when the resources line up, when fear disappears. But perfect conditions are a mirage. They never come. The wind is never entirely still, the ground is never fully firm, and fear never fully leaves. Those who move in spite of this are the ones who make progress. Thomas Edison once said, "Vision without execution is hallucination." He failed thousands of times while creating the light bulb. But each failure was an action, and each action carried him closer to the success that eventually lit the world. Imagine if he had waited until he was sure of the result. There would still be darkness. Think of a child learning to walk. They do not wait until their legs are strong enough, or until they've calculated the perfect balance. They simply try. They fall, they wobble, they get up again. No one criticizes a child for falling, because we understand that falling is part of walking. Yet as adults, we shame ourselves for mistakes, forgetting that mistakes are not proof of weakness, but proof of courage to act. Every stumble is progress because it means you are in motion. The only true failure is refusing to step at all. Action also carries momentum that thought alone cannot generate. The first step is the hardest, but once taken, the second comes easier than the third, until suddenly you are running where you once hesitated to crawl. Think of pushing a heavy car that is broken down. At first, it feels impossible, your entire body straining against its weight, but once it begins to roll, even slightly, the effort lessens and momentum carries it forward. Life is the same. The hardest part is the beginning, the moment you decide to move. After that, momentum becomes your ally, and the path begins to reveal itself in ways you could not have planned. One of the greatest illusions is believing that you must know the entire journey before you start. Imagine standing at the foot of a mountain with a lantern in your hand. The light doesn't show you the entire trail. It only illuminates the next few steps. But as you walk, more of the path is revealed. That is how action works. You don't need to see the whole picture, just enough to take the next move. Clarity comes through motion, not before it. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." Action is that step into the unseen, trusting that as you climb, the next step will appear. Consider a person who wants to build a business. They spend months, even years, researching, attending seminars, reading books, and imagining the perfect idea. But until they register the company, make the first call, or sell the first product, nothing changes. Another person, perhaps less prepared, takes a small leap, opens a small stand, sells a simple item, tests the waters. Their idea may not be perfect, but because they acted, they begin learning from real experience. They adjust, improve, and eventually succeed, while the dreamer who waited for perfection is still stuck in thought. Action beats intention when intention is never followed by movement. There is also something deeply liberating about action, because it silences the endless noise of doubt. Fear thrives in stillness. When you stand still, fear has room to grow, whispering every reason why you can't. But the moment you act, even in a small way, fear loses its grip. Imagine standing in a dark room, paralyzed by the shadows. The moment you strike a match, the shadows retreat. Action is that match. You don't need the entire room lit at once, just enough light to take one step, and then another. History is filled with examples of ordinary people who became extraordinary simply because they acted when others hesitated. Rosa Parks could have stayed silent, choosing comfort over conflict, but her decision to remain seated became the spark that ignited a movement. The Wright brothers could have waited for someone more experienced, more funded, more educated to attempt flight, but their fragile, clumsy machine took to the skies because they dared to act. Every great leap forward in humanity came not from endless planning, but from courageous doing. Even in your personal life, think of the opportunities that slipped away not because you weren't capable, but because you hesitated. The conversation you never started, the idea you never shared, the chance you let pass by because you were waiting for the right time. How many doors remain closed simply because you never knocked? Action is knocking. It doesn't guarantee the door will open, but it guarantees that something happens. And sometimes the door that opens is not the one you expected, but the one you needed most. Action also creates confidence. Many people believe they need confidence before they act, but the truth is confidence is built by acting. You don't become a great speaker by waiting until you feel confident. You become confident by speaking, stumbling, learning, and trying again. You don't become a skilled musician by waiting until you feel ready. You feel ready after the hours of practice. Action builds evidence for your mind, proving that you are capable, and with each proof, your confidence grows. It is important to remember that action doesn't have to be massive to be meaningful. Sometimes the smallest steps change everything. Writing 1 page a day leads to a book in a year. Saving a little each week leads to financial freedom over time. Speaking a kind word daily builds a bond that lasts a lifetime. Small actions compound, just as drops of water fill an ocean. Waiting for the grand gesture is often an excuse. What matters is consistency in the small. There's a Japanese concept called kaizen, which means continuous improvement through small steps. Factories in Japan use it to transform their efficiency. But the same principle works in personal life. If you improve by just 1% each day, those small actions accumulate into extraordinary growth over time. Action doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, quietly shaping a destiny until one day the world sees what you become. And action, when fueled by belief, focus, and gratitude, becomes unstoppable. It turns invisible faith into tangible results. It transforms the inner code you've been unlocking into an outer reality that others can see and touch. It is the final key, the last digit, the one that moves the vault door and reveals what was hidden all along. Without it, the code remains incomplete. With it, everything you dreamed begins to materialize before your eyes, because life rewards not just a thinker, not just a dreamer, not just a believer, but above all, the doer. There's a moment in life when you finally realize that everything you desire on the outside is only a reflection of what you've allowed yourself to unlock on the inside. The world you see is not just happening to you. It is being filtered to the codes, the beliefs, the patterns you carry deep within your mind. It's like standing in front of a mirror, scowling at the reflection, waiting for it to smile back at you. The reflection cannot change until you change the face you bring to it. That is the essence of your inner PIN code. It controls your outer reality. Money, opportunities, relationships, even the way people treat you, they all respond to the invisible codes you've set within yourself. When those codes are built on scarcity, fear, or doubt, the outer world echoes those same vibrations back to you. But when you reset the code, when you align it with focus, consistency, belief, gratitude, and action, the world has no choice but to reflect it in return. Think of a radio. If you want to hear beautiful music but you're tuned to static, it doesn't matter how powerful the radio is. You will never receive the melody. It isn't the radio's fault. It's tuned to the wrong frequency. Your life works the same way. You could be strong, intelligent, hardworking, and yet if you're tuned to the wrong mental frequency, you'll only receive static in the form of setbacks, delays, and mischances. But the moment you turn the dial inside your mind, even slightly, you discover that the music was always there, waiting for you to listen. The wealth you dream of isn't created when you get it. It's revealed when you finally tune yourself to receive it. Imagine two people walking down the same street. One is coated with lack. He sees problems everywhere. He notices the cracks in the pavement, complains about the noise, and mutters about the people blocking his way. The other is coated with abundance. She walks the same street and sees opportunities. She notices the building for rent and imagines a cafe. She hears the conversations around her and picks up ideas. She meets the same strangers but greets them with warmth and receives kindness in return. Same street, same conditions, but completely different experiences because the inner code filters reality. Life is not only what happens. It is what you're attuned to notice, to attract, to amplify. There's a story of a man who carried a small pouch of seeds everywhere he went. Whenever he walked, he would scatter them absent-mindedly along the roadside. Most people laughed at him. "Why waste your time?" they asked. "These seeds won't grow here. The soil is too dry, the ground too harsh." But years later, those same paths bloomed with wildflowers. He had changed the landscape simply by what he carried and released. Your mind is that pouch of seeds. If you carry thoughts of lack, worry, and fear, you scatter weeds, and the landscape of your life reflects it. But if you carry thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and growth, you scatter flowers, and in time, your reality blooms with beauty. The code you plant within becomes the environment you live within. There's a reason why so many people chase wealth, but never feel wealthy. They change jobs, switch investments, even work longer hours, but they never touch the inner code. It's like painting over rust. It looks shiny for a while, but underneath, the corrosion continues. True transformation happens only when you reset the inside. This is why lottery winners often lose everything within a few years. Their outer world changed, but their inner code did not. The money came, but their mindset still whispered scarcity, still repeated patterns of fear, still held the wrong pin. And life simply echoed that code until the wealth vanished. On the other hand, there are people who start with nothing, who face rejection after rejection, and yet they rise to extraordinary heights because their code is aligned with possibility. They carry focus where others scatter, consistency where others quit, belief where others doubt, gratitude where others complain, and action where others hesitate. It is not luck, it is alignment. Life cannot resist such people because they've entered the right numbers within themselves, and the vault of opportunity has no choice but to swing open. Think about how often we wait for the world to change before we give ourselves permission to feel different. We say, I'll be happy when I get that job. I'll feel secure when I have that money. I'll be grateful when things improve. But the world doesn't work like that. The outer always follows the inner. Gratitude before the money brings more money. Belief before the opportunity attracts the opportunity. Confidence before the stage earns the stage. You cannot wait for the reflection to smile. You must smile first. Even science has begun to confirm what sages have said for centuries. Neuroscientists talk about the reticular activating system in the brain, a filter that decides what information you notice. If you buy a red car, suddenly you see red cars everywhere. Not because there are more of them, but because your brain has coded that detail as important. The same applies to opportunities, ideas, solutions, and paths forward. If your code is tuned to failure, your brain will notice reasons why things won't work. If your code is tuned to possibility, you'll notice doors opening where others only see walls. It is not that one life is luckier than another. It is that one life is coded differently. Every day you are entering numbers into this mental vault. Every thought, every belief, every word is like pressing a digit on the keypad. Most people do this unconsciously, punching in random numbers, wondering why nothing opens. But those who reset their code with intention press the right sequence day after day, and one morning they wake up to find a vault swinging wide, revealing abundance that was waiting all along. This is why it feels as if money grows by morning. It's not that wealth suddenly appears out of nowhere, but that your awareness finally unlocks what was already there, hidden in plain sight, coded in your reality, waiting for you to receive it. Your life is not a random accident. It is a mirror of the codes you've chosen to keep. You've already seen what happens when you operate with the wrong pin. Doors stay closed, frustration builds, opportunities slip away. But imagine what happens when you begin each day entering the right numbers. Imagine waking up with clarity because your focus is sharp, with confidence because your belief is strong, with peace because gratitude fills your heart, with energy because you are in action. That code changes everything. The outer world bends to meet the inner alignment. Suddenly people respond differently. Circumstances shift, paths clear. It feels like magic, but it is not magic. It is a natural law of alignment. The key is already in your hand. The vault is already in front of you. The only question is whether you'll continue entering the old pin or whether you will choose a new one. And once you do, once you make a habit, you will see with your own eyes that wealth is not only something you chase. It is something you allow, something you unlock, something that grows with you as surely as morning follows night. Because the code within you will always create the reality around you that, here you are, standing at the doorway of your own vault, the code in your hands, the future waiting for you. For so long you have believed the lock was outside, that the world had to change first, that someone else held the key. But tonight you've seen the truth. The lock was always inside. The code was always yours. And the moment you decide to press the right numbers, focus, consistency, belief, gratitude, action, alignment, that moment, everything shifts. Do not wait until tomorrow. Do not wait for perfect conditions, the perfect timing, the perfect plan. Tomorrow is a story your fears tell you, so you never move. The only time you own is now. The only chance you have is now. The only life you live is now. Say it with me in your heart. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. You are not waiting for miracles. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for luck. You are the miracle. You are the permission. You are the luck. Every great change in history began with someone who decided to act in this very moment, not when it was safe, not when it was easy, but when it was necessary. And it is necessary now. So go and enter the code. Reset the pin. Unlock the vault. Step into the life you were meant to live. Let your mornings be filled with wealth, not just in money, but in joy, in peace, in power, in freedom. And when you wake tomorrow, I want these words echo in your mind like a pulse that won't let you sleepwalk through life again. You don't chase wealth. You code it. You unlock it. You become it. That is the pin. That is the truth. That is the beginning of everything. Your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please share, and subscribe. Remember this, money doesn't grow by chance. It grows by code, and the code has always been in you. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.